Right, well, we've hit half past, so I'm just going to share my screen, reset, and right, and off we go. Well, welcome everyone to Grow Your Business and Make It Greener. Can you hear me okay? If everyone could just mute their mics so we don't get any feedback, that'd be great. Excellent. Okay, so today we're going to go through, so I'm talking about, grow your business and make it greener, but actually what I'm going to sort of go through is by going greener in your business, how you can actually grow it, how it can save you time and money, can make you more efficient, it can help you grow your business, and also you'll be doing your bit for the planet as well. So these are the things that we're going to cover. I'm going to go through the carbon footprint of the internet. We're going to look at building a sustainable website. And we're also going to look at how digital decluttering and going greener can save you time and hopefully reduce your bills. So, any questions on that, put in the chat. There is quite a lot I'm going to cover. Hopefully we'll have time at the end to answer some of the questions. Hopefully Emily or Alan might be on to kind of pull some of those out, or, we'll jump back on the video chat and talk about that and see what I can get through. So just a bit about myself. I'm an eco web designer consultant. I've got a background in design, marketing, tech, been in business for myself since 2009. I really love sort of working with clients to help capture their brand personality and bring it to life online. And collaboration for me is key. So it's a really inclusive process, which I love. So you're both, really involved in that process, and you can put your own stamp on it and obviously be proud of it as well. So this is looking at the carbon footprint of the internet, and then this is as of 2021. So that has already probably gone up massively. 3%, it's basically the whole internet is about 3%. 3.7% of global greenhouse emissions, which is similar to the airline industry. And if you look at the global IT electricity demand, what energy it all uses, it's actually third in the world after the whole usage of China and the US. And approximately 1 million tons of electrical waste is disposed of each year in the UK. So again, that's just another huge sort of eye-watering fact. So where's all of this energy coming from? How does the internet use this huge amount of energy? Well, every device you use uses energy. You've got to charge your phones. You've got to plug in your computers. You're using TVs, everything like that. But you've also got these like massive data centers as well. So data centers is basically where your website is hosted, where the files are stored, where your emails might be stored. People like Google as well, they've obviously got massive data centers, Microsoft, etc. And it produces an enormous amount of heat, and a lot of the electricity and energy is used to actually keep these places cool. So one of the things we're going to look at is kind of, some easy steps you can take just to kind of reduce that footprint and be a bit greener. So other things that are used energy-wise, making computers, making the phones, as I said, making the servers and powering them, cooling the data centers. And actually every search you do, every email you send, every visit to your website, all of this uses a certain amount of energy. So again, we're going to just go through this and see, how you can reduce that and why it makes a difference to your business. Just this quote from Matt Hacking at Leap. He said, a sustainably designed and built website isn't just better for the planet and your business's carbon footprint. It should also mean a faster loading and more accessible experience for the user. So that's really important when we go through the next couple of points. So things you can do from the front end. So hopefully this doesn't get too technical, but again, I can share these slides afterwards. This is something maybe if you've got a web designer, you can send to them and just say, hey, is there anything that you can do to, reduce this impact? So first of all, I do WordPress websites. So if anyone's familiar with WordPress, you have your WordPress core. you have your WordPress theme, which kind of governs the look and the feel of the website. And then you've got all of the different plugins which add functionality. So things like adding a form to your site, or adding analytics to your site, or a security plugin, or an events plugin, or a booking plugin for a shop, anything like that. Those are usually plugins. When you're picking a theme for your website, if you do work with WordPress, it's key to just try and choose one that's really clean and fast. Some are very bloated, very slow, and it makes your website really slow to load. Some of the other things that you can do from the front end, sliders used to be like the big thing, very fashionable. Now a lot of people tend to put one big hero image at the top. But again, look at the images that you're using in your site, and make sure that you're optimizing that. And I'll go into that a little bit more. If you've got videos on your website, the best thing, rather than self-hosting them, which can increase what you are charged on your hosting, because it basically takes up more bandwidth. What I mean by that is, like if you've got lots of things open on your computer and everything, things kind of slow down because there's only a certain amount of bandwidth that you can play with. So things like animation, sliders, videos, just make sure that you're keeping them to a minimum, or you embed those videos. Also, don't put them on autoplay. Again, it might just be playing when someone doesn't necessarily want to click and play that at the time. It can also avoid a bit of embarrassment in the workplace. Suddenly it just blasts out. You've got, the video playing, and they hadn't expected that. Some other things to do: drive people to your site where they have, where you have control. So a lot of people, when you're marketing, and you'll be coming across this all across the Digital Circus and speaking, and from Emily and Alan as well, they'll all be saying, make it very targeted. So if you're sharing out a particular post, instead of directing them to your homepage, drive people to a specific page. Now, not only are you going to get better conversions with that, it's going to improve your SEO, because, it's going to mean that they're not wasting time trying to find what you're actually supposed to be pointing them to. And, on from this, making sure that your navigation and content discovery is very intuitive. So, make it very clear, your navigation at the top of your website, or your menu, whatever you want to call it. Is that really easy for people to find what they want without having to, click through 100 different places to get there? Is the content discovery intuitive? So, if you're sharing something on your website, is there flow to your page? So it makes it really easy for people to go sort of from, here's my problem, this is how you solve it, how can you help me, how do I take that next step? So just make it really easy for people to take that next step and avoid wasting time. And again, all this time, if people are sort of trying to find things and can't find things, it is spending more time on your website, which could also be an SEO benefit, but it also could be, they just jump off and they don't do anything, and then you've kind of lost them. So it's a bit, it's a bit of a balance, and about making it really efficient. When it comes to the images on your website, this is something that any of you can do. I think a lot of you use Canva, and I know a lot of my clients use Canva to make their images and create them. So you want to find out from your if you are doing them and not your web designer, make sure, we'll ask them, what is the rendered size? In other words, what is the size that's going to be showing when someone visits that website? And then you can do that at, generally, some people do it at that exact size, but a lot of people do it at double the size, which then accommodates retina screens. But make sure that all of those images are really compressed, but while not losing the quality. So I tend to always recommend using JPEGs, unless especially if it's photographs. You can use PNG format if it's more sort of graphics based with text in it. And logos, you can use PNG or something called SVG. And there's also, if you use something called a caching plugin on your website, which again helps speed everything up, there is options to convert images to WebP, and that is even smaller file size. So what this means is when someone's I'll give you a tool to visit later on, where you can put in your website and you can see how fast that loads. And if it's taking a really long time to load, there's a lot of these things I'm mentioning here that you probably need to look at. But images can be a killer. If you're uploading massive images without resizing them, without compressing them, that's really going to slow your website down. And as you've probably heard in the past, it takes 3 seconds to catch someone's attention on a website. If they're waiting 10 seconds for the website to load, you've probably lost them. A great little tool, you might just want to note that this down, is JPEG Mini, which I use. And on the free version, you can do 20 images a day. And that will just compress your images, but it won't lose the quality. That's a great little tool. In the back end, now this gets a bit technical, but again, those you might be quite well aware of this, or you can speak again to your web developer. But it's really important to keep everything up to date. Now, not only is this going to save energy and make your website a lot more efficient and everything, it's going to keep it faster and it's going to keep it more secure. So often updating to the latest releases. Say, for example, if you've got a WordPress site, the latest release of WordPress, themes and the plugins, these often hold fixes that make the code a lot more efficient and secure, which basically helps speed up the website and it also makes it safer. If you use the caching plugin or CDN, which is a content delivery network, again, this kind of, it shows it. What we'll do, it will cache pages. So if someone's visiting your site again and again, it doesn't keep reloading the whole thing again. It kind of shows them, it's almost like a screenshot such of what they've seen before. So that only gets updated if you're updating that page. Otherwise, it'll always share the cached version. And this can really improve speed time. Also uses fewer resources. So, again, it's all a win-win all around for the planet and for the people who are coming to visit your site. So remove anything not being used. Again, I've been in so many back end of websites and they've got loads of different themes in there. You really only need the theme you're using and a default theme, which you can switch to in case there's any problems, just to check if things are working or not. Remove any not being used, remove any plugins not being used, remove any images not being used, any drafts, get rid of. Also, a lot of themes come with different modules, that you can use. So it might be like video modules, slider modules. If you're not using them, untick them. Again, all of this will help not only save energy, but it's going to help speed up your site. Page builders as well. I use a theme called Astra Pro and I use Elementor. Now, Astra is very clean and fast. Elementor can be quite heavy, but by doing a lot of these little things, it's going to really speed up your website. So one of the things you can do is a lot of page builders will load all of the Google fonts or load a number of them. So if you install, some of them will have a tick button where you can not load it or choose to load it locally. But a great little plugin called OMGF has been fantastic in speeding up sites, because again, this can really be a drain on the page load speed. Also, of course, Google Fonts says that there's the privacy issue now. You've probably seen that notice in your in the back end about GDPR. So again, using something like OMGF will get rid of that privacy issue at the same time. Reduce tracking and advertising scripts. Now, I'm not saying don't do it. I'm just saying think about what's actually important to you in your business. What are you tracking that's important to you in your business? Now, I was using Google Analytics, which is quite intensive. There's a lot to it. I'd hardly ever look at it. Sorry, guys, I know, really bad. But I've just installed something called Burst, and it's really simple. It just gives me the basics, but I know where my client's coming from, which page they're visiting, which are the most visited, etc. And that's about it. So again, it keeps it very clean and fast as well. And lastly, sorry, the point, improve your SEO. So by improving your SEO, again, you're being found quicker. It's using less energy. They're not searching hundreds of Google pages trying to find you and your business. So again, this all contributes to a better website, better business, and obviously a greener planet. In terms of hosting, this is one of the easiest switches you can make. You can switch to a green and local hosting provider. And I would always recommend choosing hosting that is local. So if you're to where your clients are. So if most of your clients are UK based, try and choose hosting that's got servers that are based in the UK. This will also help speed up the process because it's got less distance to travel, the information there and back. So it will also help SEO if you're more local. For those kind of more techie people, or again, to advise your web developer, make sure you're updating to latest versions of PHP, which WordPress websites work on. And this is also security reasons, but also fewer resources, faster websites, and keep going in and sort of optimizing things, cleaning out things, decluttering. And there's a lot more information sort of where this comes from, but I'm going to go through quite a few bits more, so I can share more of these in the slides. So the results that you can get, obviously, from doing all of this is you've got a faster loading website, it's a better user experience, you've got better SEO rankings, it's easier for people to find you in search, reduced bouncing off, people coming to your site and then just bouncing off. So all of this leads to better conversion rates, obviously an improved brand image, and probably less cost on your hosting space as well. So some of the other sort of digital things, I'll just go through a couple of them. We won't spend huge amounts of time on this because I want to try and leave some time for questions at the end. So video calls and streaming. So we all use Zoom, it was like during lockdown, everyone jumped on, there was a lot going on. I mean, the impact must have been a massive. So, quite often when I don't need to, or just for a short time, or, in the beginning and at the end, maybe put the video on, but the rest of the time, turn it off. I also find it sort of a bit less distracting sometimes. Because obviously, and I've noticed how this works. I live on a narrow boat, so every watt counts. And if I sit on a video call, I can watch the meter going down compared to if I'm not. So, the battery's going down. So it just so I was just like, oh my God, I can't believe how much energy this uses. And likewise, I used to have a big desktop computer. I've had to move to a laptop just because it will not run the desktop. It uses too much power. Also, obviously, video calls can reduce meeting times and it saves on travel and off space. So it is a good alternative. So, it's being greener in that way as well. And, there is always text and phone calls as well as an alternative. So mix it up, see what, make life interesting. When it comes to storage, now this is a big one. If you use Google Drive, or Microsoft OneDrive, Dropbox, anything like that, again, the more space you're taking up, the more it's actually costing you. So if you are cleaning this out and you've got file management going, avoid storing the same file in multiple places. You could check your cloud storage providers using Green Data Center in order to store that. And this also will help you spend less time trying to find things. You're going to be a lot more efficient and streamlined. So it's going to save you time in your business. I briefly, I was talking about the computers and changing and everything else, and just how much waste is generated from hardware in the UK alone. So, think of buying secondhand, renewed or refurbished, or get repaired. Look at one that's not so power hungry. I think the Apple Mac's come out with an astonishing desktop thing, which uses about 50 watts. Now, I think my old desktop is about 600-700 watts, so it's quite a big difference. And then dispose of via companies. So you can find charities as well. I mean, I'm based in Norfolk, so I found a local charity that came where they took all away my old laptops, computers, phones, cameras, everything. They strip them apart. They use them to train up local people at university. They've got sort of a social impact project going where they have disadvantaged people coming in and learning about electronics. and then they make the rest of it up into art. So I thought that was a fantastic way of recycling all the IT hardware that I had. And again, reduced number of tabs open at one time. A lot of people do this, but it can slow down. So it makes your whole process of working slower as well, and can make things a bit jittery online. And lastly, emails. Now, this was a study that they did in OVO, and they said, Brits send more than 64 million unnecessary emails. And if everyone sent one less thank you email a day, we'd save, look at that, 16,433 tons of carbon a year, which is equivalent to 81,152 flights to Madrid. It's quite staggering. Now, there's a fine balance with this, and something you may have to discuss with your clients, because you do want to say thank you and you do want to reply. You don't want to appear rude. But again, it's just about being a bit mindful about, what emails you're sending and why. And rather than attach files, link to them in the cloud. Unsubscribe from newsletters that you don't read anymore. Switch off email notifications and apps like Facebook. You can proofread your emails to reduce the need for sending more emails with corrections and missing info. And do an email declutter, do some file management. Again, you can find it just helps you sort of, it's less distraction, more focus on work, saves time trying to find emails. I'm sure everyone has this. Where's that email? Oh, and it's going to reduce the cost for hosting the emails as well. And finally, online marketing. Now, we've got to be out there. This is all about digital marketing, this summit. So I'm absolutely for all the marketing you can do. But I think when you look at it from a green digital perspective, it's like prioritizing quality over quantity. Adding stuff on your social media when it truly adds value. When you're sending out a newsletter, again, not just, I've said I'm going to send one every week, so I must send one every week and I'll just stick anything in. I think, think about, okay, well, I don't have to send it every week. I can send it when I've got something really that I need to say. Repurposing content, Alan and Emily go on about this all the time. Absolutely. Again, it's saving time. It's saving space on your hard drive where you're storing stuff. For example, you can choose one image, which could be a featured image on your blog. That could be optimized size so that it could be used not only on the website, but also on social media and also an email. And you can be storing it in one place. So again, it's just thinking about these little things that make you become a little bit more efficient and streamlined. And by doing this, the benefits are you're going to attract loyal customers. You're going to avoid people unsubscribing and unfollowing you because you're just pumping out content for no reason. You're going to work smarter, not harder, because you've got streamlined processes. You're going to save on storage, like I mentioned. And I think it'll lead to better conversions because you're not wasting people's time looking for things. So that is it in a nutshell. And I managed to, I mean, I could talking nonstop. So, but basically, this is how, if I can help and you want any information, if you've got any questions to ask, do let me know. And that's how you can contact me. I also do an EcoBiz show. It's a YouTube. I've got to actually get that onto podcasting channels.
Yes.
People on there.
Karen, obviously, I'm only here because there were a few questions. Otherwise, I wouldn't have got involved. And you'd mentioned at the beginning, kind of pointing them out. First of all, I blimmin' love what you talk about, right? Because for me, it's just about understanding the bigger impact, the wider impact, making sure you have purpose, making sure it's relevant and everything else. And we even say that, we send a lot of email, we create a lot of content, but that's not going to be right for anyone else. And being consistent doesn't actually mean do one every week. Sometimes being regular is a better phrase. Now, I remember signing up to some UK adventurers once, and he said, I'm going to send you an email when I've got something to say. So he was regular and consistent in his own way. And it's just about understanding the difference. I thank you, iFi. Do you want me to read the questions out, or shall I just leave you in the chat and I'll disappear and slope off again?
No, that's fine if you need to be somewhere else. And I was just saying, I think what you're doing is perfect because you've got all that macro content and then you're repurposing that. So you're doing it. So thank you so
Thank
much
you
for
so
having me
much.
on, Alan.
No, I thank you. When you, like you say, when you were asked to be a speaker last year for this year, we looked at that and went, absolutely, that's something we want to cover. It's important to understand, in a world where we can do anything from our desks, you've got to understand the wider impact on the planet we all love and kind of walk in every day. So yes, definitely. And the fact we met on a YouTube streaming show also obviously ticks my tick list. So
Exactly. Thank you.
yeah.
Has anyone else got any questions? I mean, you've probably put stuff in the chat, so I'm happy for you to, if anyone wants to sort of open their mic and.
Can I ask a question? I just wanted to know, is there a place I can go to calculate where my company is now in terms of its greenness and environmental friendliness or not? And before I start the activity so that I can then show how much I'm reducing by?
Absolutely. That is a really good question. I'm just, there's one called EcoGrader. There's quite a lot out there. There's EcoGrader, there's, carbon, really liked about EcoGrader. If I can just share my screen again, I saved a couple of slides at the end. Yes, ecograder.com. It's a bit similar to GT Metrics, which I'm sure people like Alan and that will know about. Some of you might know. So what it does is, so for example, this website we did it. All the things that I mentioned to you and a little bit more, we reduced it from 8 seconds to 1.5 seconds loading time, just by doing some of these things. And so EcoGrade, I put this. Unfortunately, I didn't do it before. I was just like, I was kicking myself, so I'm going to have to do it on another site, but it will give you a score out of 100, and then it goes through all the actions that it thinks you should do in order to improve that. So it tells you, optimize, maybe you can optimize your images, you can reduce your page weight, remove unused code. So it gives you all of that. So you could actually just take that report and you could send it to a web developer and say, can you do these things? And see what the impact is after that. And then put it in again and see how it's changed. Any other questions?
Can I just ask about the archive stroke deleting that Louise has mentioned there about emails? Because I am terrible for not emptying my archive or messages once I've dealt with them. I just kind of leave them in there in my emails.
So it's archiving emails rather than allowing you to delete it. Okay. I have mine coming through my Gmail, so I can just delete them and then empty the bin. I think archiving them, it's still actually storing them there, so they're not really going away.
I think it's a phone/Gmail default setting. Off the top of my head, there's a setting in the back end of Gmail that says delete rather than archive. I can try and find it in the next 60 seconds. Hold fire. I'll go and find it.
Oh, brilliant.
Thank you.
Okay. Let me see what else there is. Recommended file size or max file size for JPEGs. I always resize, compress, but it's scared of compromising quality. That again, what I would say. So say, for example, I mean, width-wise, I often go like 1920. I mean, I think maximum you should go is probably 2048 pixels wide. Or, like if it's a half-page one, it's usually somewhere around 1024 pixels. But if you do that, something like Canva or resize in some way, and then you put it through through that JPEG mini I was talking about, that literally just absolutely crunch it down and it doesn't lose any quality. So I would recommend a tool like that.
That was a question. Is that a mini, whatever that name was? Is it a plugin or is it a separate site?
Yeah, no, it's a separate site. So it's a download. You download it onto your computer and you open it up and it pops up a little window. The free version, you can do 20 a day, but the paid version, which is very cheap, I think it's a yearly fee or lifetime fee, you can actually choose the size as well. So it does both at the same time.
Great. I had a question. So I've just bought myself a Remarkable, in part so I don't have to have like 400 different notebooks and not have the right one with me at the right time. But I'm now very conscious that I did that to reduce my paper usage. But if there's a digital impact, have I just swapped one thing for another? Or is it actually better? I don't know.
I know it is. That is a hard one. And I think it's, I think it's not about going sort of like full on crazy and beating yourself up over stuff. I think it's just about being a bit sensible about it. And, if you finished with the notes or you transfer them to another place, once you're done with it, then if you don't need it anymore, remove it. I think I sort of maybe about once a month, once every 2 months, just go through all my files and just sort of do some decluttering and, but there's still always something to do. But yeah, I get notebooks sent to me every Christmas time from clients. So I've got piles of them and, so I do sometimes write notes and then other times I'm sort of typing them online.
I am a stationery addict. It's very hard to not have many gorgeous notebooks everywhere. So.
Yeah. Right. I'm conscious of the time. So do we have to shoot off?
So the only networking half hour has just started. So, it's okay if you run over a couple of minutes, but only networking half hour is now on. So just quickly, I've put a link in. I'm not saying this is going to solve it for everyone, but there is a clear setting that differentiates between archiving and deletion. I just found a website. No worries, Sarah. Hopefully that will help. Karen, thank you. I'm going to disappear and leave you to wrap up, but amazing as always.
Oh, thanks. Thanks so much, Alan. Take care.
Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
Thanks,
if anyone's
Karen.
got any other final
great
questions,
session.
I'll stay on here a bit.
That was brilliant. Thanks.
Thank you so much.
No problem. Bye.